Now, today's topic, things they did not teach you in seminary. Let me say in advance, some of you may find some of what I'm going to say on this broadcast risque, difficult to hear. If you are sensitive, new to ministry, etc., this broadcast is not for you. You may want to tune in at another time. So you have been forewarned. This is your opportunity to sign off. This is for people who are mature enough to hear this message. Okay? So I want to say that I said that in advance. I said it in advance. So I don't want to get messages and posts later saying, can you believe she talked about? I gave you a chance to sign off. Amen. Okay. Things they didn't teach you in seminary. We've gone through some of this before. Want to just offer some more insight to some of you who are new to ministry. Some of you who have been shocked, stunned, surprised, saddened by some of the things that have happened to you recently in ministry. Number one, and we've talked about it before, but I need to say it again. Social media can really help you in ministry, and it can really hurt you in ministry. Okay? It can really help you if you use it correctly, and it can really hurt you. And in the last 10 days or so, I've really seen a lot of people using social media in ways that will hurt them. Okay? I've always said, make sure before you get ready to post something controversial, ask yourself, will this cause that I'm standing up for, this issue that I'm weighing in on, will it matter to me a year from now, 5 years from now, and etc.? Okay? Sometimes you don't need to say anything. You can read a post, you can pray about it, and move on. And move on. And certainly if you do not have all of the facts, wait until you get all of the facts. Just wait. And that segues me into thing number 2, which is also sometimes a social media issue. We have a number of clergy, numerous clergy, in this season who are getting divorced. They're getting divorced. And their divorces are being played out in public for the whole wide world to see. And what I've seen some people do on social media is weigh in when they see posts from wherever all of these crazy posts come from. People will weigh in and they have no information. They have none at all. They will give their opinion about what they saw. They don't have any background information. They don't know context. Please, please, please pray about situations. You don't have to respond to every post you see. You just do not, you should not respond to every post you see, especially when it concerns something such as a clergy getting a divorce, a clergy being caught in a difficult situation. Get all of the facts before you weigh in, okay? So please, please, please give that consideration. We're doing too much of that. And if you're on here and you're a lay person, the same applies to you. If you are a Christian, do not take sides in things about which you have little to no information, okay? Third thing, and this is going to stun some people, but it's true. You don't have to believe me. You can go to the Labor Department, check any number of places for these statistics. It is possible that you can work in the church your entire life and never earn a decent living. You can work in the church your entire life, and I'm talking after seminary, I'm talking you've been a pastor, and never earn a decent living. You can pastor small churches, so please know that you may need a second career, a second job, in order to stay in ministry. I'm not saying leave ministry. I'm saying be realistic. You can work in ministry 20, 30 years and never earn a decent living. That's the reality. So if you don't have a second career, a second job, you really need to seriously understand what you're doing. Not every church is able to take care of a pastor, a full-time pastor, and his or her family. Even if you're in denominations where you're placed in those denominations by bishops and others, you still may not earn a decent living. Okay? Next thing, and this again goes back to social media, and I'm seeing a great deal of it, and it's harming clergy, it's harming the church. We need to stop talking negatively about our church members. It's amazing to me how many pastors have negative things to say about members of their church, and how many preachers have negative things to say about church folk. And church folk have issues just as people in any field have issues. But it is not the job, not the role of preachers to talk down church folk. That is not the thing to do. You don't help the church, you don't help the kingdom, you certainly don't help yourself. Offer solutions sometime. Look for solutions. So when pastors post things saying that members ask me to do these things that are difficult, impossible, hard, offer possible solutions. And if you don't have solutions, just offer prayer. Just offer prayer and move on. And move on. But clergy, we have got to stop talking negatively about church members. We don't need to talk negatively about anyone, really, unless they're out there harming someone and we're trying to get them to stop. But I'm seeing post after post. I have 4 or 5 Facebook pages. And I'm seeing post after post of negative things about church members, and then we're bothered and we talk about folk when they leave or they don't want to be a part of the church. We have to stop talking negatively about church folk. And that includes preachers who are out there who keep giving relationship homework to black women. Stop it. Stop doing that. Stop doing it. Most of you are not trained to do it. Stop giving black women relationship homework. Black women have enough work. Offer them some solutions. Offer them prayer. Okay? Offer them hope. Stop giving them more homework. But whether they're single, married, mothers, not mothers, stop that. It is not helpful. It is harmful. Something else they didn't teach you in seminary. Sexism and homophobia are still big in the black church. They didn't tell you that in seminary. Sexism and homophobia are still big in the black church. So, if you are a member of the LGBT community, and you will probably not be able to pastor openly in most historically African American churches. That is your reality. That is a reality. And you need to know that. And I'm not ever going to tell anyone not to be themselves or to live in a closet. But you need to live in the real world. That is the African American church and faith community in large measure. It's not all churches, certainly. You may have to go to other denominations. That is a reality. It's a reality. And I really want women and those in the LGBT community to know that. I'm thankful for those who open their doors gladly to all people and they don't discriminate. But I want people to live in the real world. And while you're advocating for people, know that those two groups constantly need our advocacy. And this is true whether you want to be a pastor, a minister of music, Christian education director. If you are openly gay, the black church may not be welcoming. It just may not be welcoming to you. Okay? Something else they didn't teach you in seminary. And I really want you to hear me here. If you are a pastor, male or female, you are likely to cheat on your spouse if you do not have a fence around you. Let me say that again. If you are a pastor in ministry, you are likely to cheat on your spouse if you do not have a fence around you. And by a fence, I mean accountability partners, fences that help you maintain character, maintain prayer. I know I've run into a lot of preachers who just knew that it would never be them. They were holier than that. They were more saved than that. They were smarter than that. And it was them. It did happen to them because no one told them, put a fence around you. Put a fence around you because there are opportunities for infidelity all over ministry. They're just there. They are just there. And if you're not prepared for them, you can fall. You can fall. So build in what you need, especially if that is one of the issues with which you have a problem anyway. Okay? So just know that that can happen, and it's something for which you should be prepared. Do not take it lightly. Do not take it lightly. Something else they didn't tell you in seminary is that you need different ministry friends and acquaintances and peers for every season of your life. You may end up keeping one or two friends for 20 or 30 years, but typically you will need new friends in ministry for every season of your life. The friends you had at 20 probably won't be the friends you have at 60. So you need to be prepared for that. Something else they didn't tell you in seminary, if you are a parent and you are clergy, your kids may do things that cause you public embarrassment. That's right. They may cause you public embarrassment. So they may get pregnant out of wedlock. They may go to jail. They may even harm their spouse. Your kids can do things that will cause you public embarrassment. You're not the first preacher that has happened to, and you won't be the last. But I want you to know that it does happen. There are good parents, good preachers, and raggedy preacher parents whose kids end up on drugs and end up embarrassing clergy, especially those who are pastoring. It happens, and I want you to know it could happen to you. It could happen to you. Okay? Something else they didn't tell you in seminary is that all clergy, ministers of music, scholars, pastors, associate pastors, all clergy need a place that you can go where you can't be found unless you want to be found. You need a getaway place. It can't be your bathroom. They can find you there. It can't be your car. They can find you there. But you do need your own place where you can go and spend time with yourself. You and God, doing whatever you want to do or need to do. You need a place. If you don't have a place, find a place where you cannot be found unless you want to be found. Something else they didn't tell you in seminary, a lack of sleep, water, or staying hydrated and exercise will affect your ability to preach. it will harm your throat. It will harm your throat. It'll also make you sluggish. You really, really do have to exercise, stay hydrated, and get plenty of rest if you want to do ministry for the long haul. For the long haul. Another thing that they didn't tell you in ministry, and I'm seeing more and more of this across multiple Facebook pages, is that depression is real. Depression is real. You can get depressed by so many of things, just dealing with constant death and difficulties. I can imagine how many preachers are going to have depressed moments just after Hurricane Harvey and everything that has happened. Okay? There were some churches that are totally flooded and destroyed during that hurricane. Depression is real. It's not anything to play with. It's real, and you can get help for it. Facebook is not a therapist. Let me say that again. Facebook is not a therapist. Most of the people on Facebook do not have any training in dealing with depression and other mental illnesses. They don't have any training. It's okay to just ask people to pray for you. But if you are going through depression, whether it's short-term or long-term, it's real. It happens in ministry every single day. It can happen when you're young. It can happen when you're older. You can have postpartum depression after a pregnancy, women clergy. It's real. Get help for it. And remember, Facebook is not a therapist. Certainly, you can get encouragement from friends, but you really do have to go and see someone. And if you can't find names and numbers of therapists you can trust, send someone a direct message who you know, and that includes me, will help you find the kind of therapist you need. Okay? There is help available. Okay? Now this next one is going to upset some people, and you know I don't really care about that, but it needs to be said. Because during this season, I'm also seeing an excessive rise in divorces among clergy, people in ministry. I want to say to all clergy, this is one of the first things that they taught me when I was taking marriage and family counseling classes. They said if you are going to counsel people, one of the first things that you should counsel people to do is marry who they want to marry. Marry who they want to marry. If you are in ministry, do not marry anyone just because you believe they can help your career. Let me say that again. Do not marry someone just because they can help you in your career. You should marry someone who will be a helpmate to you for life. I am seeing too many men especially, I'll get to the women in a minute, but men marry high-powered business women, high-powered, well-educated business women, and then getting upset because those women won't help them build their churches. If you want a woman who will put on one of those church hats, have that dinner on the table, rear kids while you run all over the country, that's who you should marry. There's nothing wrong with that. There are sisters out there who fit that. Marry who you want to marry. I heard a young man say, I'm going to marry someone just like my mother. And I said, fine. If that is what you want, be honest about it. Don't marry folk to show off. Marry who you need. Marry who you need. Marry someone who matches what you want and you match what they want. And for women, Don't worry about whether churches believe you ought to marry men who are well educated because you are well educated. Marry who you want to marry. So if you got a PhD and your husband is a blue collar person, so what? So what? Marry who you want to marry, not who churches believe you ought to be married to. Marry who you need. Marry the person that matches you, and for God's sake, be honest. Be honest. Be honest. If you don't want to be married to someone who doesn't cook, that's not sexist. That's honest. That's honest. Also know that people change, people grow, and you've got to give people room to change and grow if you want them to give you room to change and grow. So you can't be the only one in the family who gets a bunch of degrees. You've got to give your spouse the same room to grow. The same room to grow and change. Okay? Something else they didn't tell you in seminary. They didn't tell you that alcohol will not help you fix any of your problems, but you may want it anyway. Let me say that again. They didn't tell you in seminary that alcohol won't help you fix any of your problems, okay? But you may want it anyway. You may want it anyway. Because sometimes when you're up against certain things, all you want is what you believe will calm your nerves, give you a moment to relax, and alcohol helps some people do that. I bring it up because over the last 3 or 4 years, I am seeing so many young and middle-aged preachers just drink. You really do need to know it won't solve your problem. It really, really will not. And if you are drinking every day or every other day, newsflash, you are an alcoholic. You're an alcoholic. And you need to get assistance for that. Okay? So don't fool yourself. It can sneak up on you, and before you know it, you've been drinking 5, 6, 7 months in a row. You got problems at home. You got problems at the church. Children are acting crazy. The money is funny. And a drink, you believe, just helped you. And you believe it didn't impact your preaching. It didn't impact your ability to work. You are lying to yourself. You're lying to yourself. But just know that that can happen. So make sure you take a look and assess if that is happening. Assess if that's happening. Make sure that you've got friends around you who will tell you the truth. They'll tell you the truth. I told you that this was for adults. And I may say some things that offend some people. This next one, and so you may want to tune out now, but I'm going to tell you the truth. Okay? If you are an adult clergy, married or single, you need to know how to masturbate and masturbate well, and you should have all of the toys to assist you. Yes, I did. I said it. I said it. You should know how to masturbate and masturbate well. There are times that you will need to release sexual tension, and if you're married, your spouse may not be available. You don't want to cheat. Take care of the release and go on about your business. It's your business. It's between you and God. You're not hurting anyone. You're not committing any major sin. And it's better to do that than to get addicted to porn. Male or female. If you need to masturbate, you need to know how to do it. Have the toys to do it. And it's not a big deal. And you don't have to tell anybody your business. If you need the physical release, I'm not talking about if you need intimacy. That's a whole nother issue. If you just need the physical release, get the physical release and go ahead about your business. Go ahead about your business, okay? We're adults here. And sometimes that's what you will need. That's what you will need, okay? I said there were 10 things, and I'm going to give you a few more. It's the Labor Day holiday. Let's take a little bit of time. Another one that they didn't tell you in seminary. Churches might forget about you when you get old. You were a good pastor. You pastored 20, 30, 40 years. You did it with excellence to the best of your ability. A new pastor came along and the church forgot about you. It can happen. I pray that it does not happen, because there's nothing worse than ungrateful folk. But it does happen. It happens all the time. That's why I often tell people, please share these sessions with homebound clergy, because so many have been forgotten. They served long, they served well, and people have forgotten about them. Please know it can happen. I don't want you upset. I don't want you to be heartbroken about it. And if you are an older clergy and people have forgotten about you, my prayers, my heart goes out to you. It does happen. And I want to say to every young and middle-aged clergy, if you can reach out to an older clergy, just a phone call, a visit, a letter, a text, please do that. You are going to be old one day too. And you never know what's going to happen to you. You never know. So please know that that can happen. Okay? Also, something else that they didn't teach you in seminary is that it is not unusual for pastors to put the church ahead of their kids. It's not unusual. You can get caught up. You didn't mean to, but you missed the basketball game. You said my other spouse will go. You missed the soccer match. You missed that piano recital. You wanted to be there, but so-and-so died. A major issue came up. You had to go and travel. You had your next revival. Please, 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 please do not be the preacher that puts your church, your ministry, in front of your kids or your spouse, for that matter, if you're married. But please, 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 never, 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 never put ministry ahead of your kids. Your kids, your spouse, your family, they are your first ministry. And they need you. I know the world needs you too. But your kids need you first and foremost. So remember that. They won't tell you that in seminary, but that's critically important. Something else they won't tell you in seminary, okay, is that the average preacher who opens their churches every Sunday to 100, 125 people, they won't tell you in seminary that you may not get a large number of preaching engagements in ministry. It just may not happen. You will invite people to preach for you who will never invite you to preach for them. So I don't want you to pastor a church and sit somewhere upset or mad. You've been doing it 10, 20 years and no one invites you out to preach. I want you to know that and get over it now. Ministry is more than preaching. It's more than preaching. Even if you love preaching, ministry is more than that. So use all of your gifts and don't upset yourself by how many preaching engagements you received and that you invited all of these people and they didn't invite you back. It happens. It really does happen. Or you helped some young preacher when they were going through a crisis and they never even invited you to do a preaching engagement. It happens. It happens. Prepare for it. Get over it. Don't get upset about it. There are ungrateful people in the world. There are thoughtless people in the world. And then there are just people out there who don't like your preaching style. They just don't like your preaching style. But it's your style. You're okay with it. So be okay with just doing all of ministry and not being worried about whether or not you get so many preaching engagements. Last thing, and I'm going to leave you with this one, they didn't teach you in seminary, is that your so-called boys, your girls, etc., will tell your business. I hate to tell you that, but they will tell your business. They will tell your business. Sometimes they'll not do it intentionally. They'll just put something out that you didn't want out. Okay? And they might tell themselves, well, you didn't tell me to keep it a secret. They will put your business out. Especially your boys and some of your girls who are kind of competing with you. That's right. Your boys and your girls will compete with you. They might not do it in a harsh way, but they will tell your business. So if you don't want your business out there, be careful who you tell your business to. Be careful who you tell your business to. And once you find those people who can't stop telling your business, you need to know where they fit into your life. God bless you. God bless you. I hope today's session has been helpful to you. If the session has been helpful, please like this session. If this session hasn't applied to you, none of this applied to you, please share the video with someone who really needs it. Share the video with someone who needs it. They may just need one thing that I said. Share the video. It will not cost you anything to share the video. Share the video. I hope that you get some rest or have gotten some rest during the holiday weekend. For those who are struggling, those who are suffering due to the hurricane and for other reasons, please know that we are praying with you. And again, want to remind you, next Monday, 11:45 Eastern Standard Time, I'm going to do a dual broadcast with Bishop John Guns. That ought to be fun. Take care. I hope that you have a great, great week. God bless.